Hey guys, what's up? It's Carrie and Demir from Lifehack Bootcamp, and today we're going to be talking to you about an awesome book called Grit by Angela Duckworth.
I love this book so much. This is one of my favorite books, so let's jump right into it.
Yeah.
First things first, let's just define what is grit. And Duckworth defines it as sustained application of effort over time. And she takes it even deeper by saying that your ability to stay committed to anything is the number one predictor of lifelong success. Think about that. Your ability to stay committed to something is the number one predictor of whether you're going to be successful in life.
So cool. She stresses that grit can be broken down into 4 parts: interest, passion, purpose, and faith. We're going to talk more about this later, but essentially, if you're missing even one of those quadrants, then you're not going to be able to develop grit.
Yeah, which is just a revolutionary way to think about it. She's basically saying that grit from the exterior looks like one thing, but actually when you're developing grit, it's 4 things working together in a chain that if any one of those things isn't present, you're not going to get the whole effect. So in essence, your bread isn't going to rise and bake properly. She
says that talent counts once, but effort counts twice. And this is one of the most powerful quotes in the book, and a very similar message can be found in Carol Dweck's book, Mindsets.
Absolutely. So essentially, if you see an incredibly successful concert pianist, and you're thinking, wow, they must be super, super talented, the odds are, sure, they're talented, but their grit is what's gotten them to that level of talent because they've been able to apply themselves again and again. So really, talent is an off-gas of grit, not the other way around.
So this also rings true for military cadets. Duckworth conducted research trying to figure out what the number one predictor for which cadets would make it through training and which would drop out, right? And so as you can surely guess, the best way to predict this was by measuring their grit.
And in this book, she presents you with a way to calculate grit. So instead of just making it sort of offhand, she actually gives a test that you can take to calculate your own grit. And it's actually a really great little test. So let's talk about some of the key takeaways from this book.
So one big takeaway from this book is that you shouldn't chalk up your lack of success to lack of talent.
Yeah.
That just doesn't cut it as good reasoning because talent is not a solid predictor of success.
So she's asserting in this book that the evidence is in. If you're not gritty, you can become gritty. So there's no excuse for you not performing to your peak ability.
So as Demir was mentioning before, Duckworth goes over the 4 things that combine together to create grit. It's interest, passion, purpose, and faith. You can develop grit by integrating those 4 things into your life. So developing a fascination for what you're going after, striving to actually improve in that area every day, and reminding you how that's connected to the greater purpose in your life, and really developing a growth mindset, an improvement mindset.
Yeah, and when you start to understand how these 4 elements really increase your grit, you're going to start finding that you're able to turn things you know into things you do. You're going to deal with failure better, and you're going to apply yourself consistently over and over again.
Totally. And these takeaways definitely allude to the fact that this book is really a game changer in the whole industry.
Huge game changer. So first of all, she reveals a paradigm shift around what it takes to make people successful and how the rest of us can be successful too.
Absolutely, because we look to successful people and wonder, was it their education? Was it their innate talent? Was it the privileges they were given? And Duckworth notes that while all of those things were definitely factors in their success, grit is actually the driving force behind their success.
Yeah.
It's a much better predictor than talent or anything else that we might be born with.
Absolutely. So similar to Cal Newport's Deep Work, which we also did a book summary on, Duckworth stresses that grit is becoming more and more rare, actually, even though it's more and more valuable. So there's a huge opportunity to be had for those of us who are willing to go develop our grit and fine-tune it.
So as far as critiques of this book, well, this book is extremely inspiring and eye-opening. It draws our attention to a problem that we hadn't quite put our finger on yet. So if you're looking for, an eye-opener, it's an awesome, awesome read.
Yeah, but if you're looking for something that's more like step-by-step plan of action, this isn't really that book. You're going to need to look elsewhere for that. This is by no means a step-by-step guide to grit alone.
But because she kept this book at a pretty introductory surface level, it has a pretty high hypnotism score. It's really enjoyable to read. So we give it a 8 out of 10 hypnotism score.
So who exactly should be reading this book, right? Who should decide to pick this book up and actually go all the way through it? Well, if you're feeling like you've fallen out of passion with your work, or you constantly feel like I need to be getting more done, I need to be getting further and faster in my work, or if you feel like you're your own worst enemy and you're never getting anything done, you should definitely read this book.
And how does it fit into our methodology here at Lifehack Bootcamp?
Yeah.
Well, we are absolute grit fanatics. We really, really believe in the power of grit. So it's a core part of our methodology in Lifehack Bootcamp.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, you could not learn anything more than what you know now, but if your grit was multiplied by 1,000, you'd be able to do more, to persevere through, failure and push yourself harder and harder. I mean, that is the number one productivity skill. Grit.
Yeah. So in Lifehack Bootcamp, we strive to take even the lowest performing member of a team to a top performing member, even after their manager has just given up on them. And that can only be done by developing grit.
Yeah, working on that mental game. So we definitely have this as a core part of our methodology before the book even came out. We were already talking about grit. We were already talking about willpower. But this book did for us what it did for many people. It brought more visibility to this area. It put a name to the face of grit, because grit is really badly defined.
Yeah.
And Angela Duckworth really pulled out the fine grains of grit to help you understand it even better.
So how did this book change our lives personally
Yeah.
the first time we read it?
So like, for example, we know how cells generally work because we took high school biology, but we don't really know how every single part of a cell works. We just have a vague understanding. So scientists deep dive into the purpose and the process of very specific cell functions, and we begin to understand more and more about them, and then we can have power over them and really manipulate them. Well, Angela Duckworth did that for me with grit. This book changed my life because I sort of knew what grit was on a high level, and I didn't really know necessarily how it worked, and I certainly didn't know how to get more of it. But when she broke down the 4 quadrants of grit and she really showed you how to develop grit, it's a game changer.
Absolutely. And for me, it took all that pressure of, waking up and just needing to be innately awesome, like every single morning right off the bat. And instead it shifted my focus back over to that consistent, persistent action over time and the idea of getting 1% better every single day.
Yeah. So now you understand the book a little bit better. What are some actionable steps you can take right now?
Okay, so first, take a moment to really think about whether or not there are areas of your life where you need to develop that grit.
Yeah.
And if so, what are those areas?
Once you figured that out, take out a piece of paper, divide it into 4 quadrants: interest, passion, purpose, faith. Faith, F-A-I-T-H. And faith just means faith in yourself, faith that you'll get through it. And I want you to brainstorm some things that you can do in each quadrant to improve your overall grit score. So those are some things you guys can do right now, just having listened to this book summary. But honestly, this is a great book to pick up on audiobook, pick up and read at night. So I hope you get this book. I hope you read it. I hope it's as inspiring to you as it is to us. And make sure to check out our other book summaries on this same page. Bye, guys.
Bye.